Welcome to 30 Minutes with Workroom Tech. I'm Ceil DeGuglielmo, and along with Susan Woodcock, we'll be bringing you this Workroom Education podcast each month. We'll have links to Susan's blog posts, as well as accompanying videos to help you with your custom window treatment and soft furnishings education. 30 Minutes with Workroom Tech is sponsored by Workroom Tech, and you can learn all about their hands-on classes in Tryon, North Carolina by visiting workroomtech.com. Hi, Susan. Happy February.
Oh, hi, Ceil. It's been terribly cold, and I know for you as well. But the sun is shining today, so I'm happy.
We'll take what we can get at this point. So we have a special edition for this podcast because we have a guest, and we always love when we have a guest.
We do. Kathy Geffen is here with us, and we're going to introduce Kathy in just a second. But first, I want to talk about our topic for today.
Okay.
And that is the WAM group, the Workroom Accountability and Mentoring Group, and what's coming up for 2026.
And we're excited to share all of this today.
Yeah, it's a big change. And but before we do that, let's talk a little bit, Ceil, about why we started WAM, what WAM is, who's in the WAMily, whatever.
And once you're in the WAMily, you can't get out.
Never get out.
When we were talking about this, one of the things that you and I felt was a little bit missing, or one thing that we felt was missing in our industry, was an opportunity for new-ish people to have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
And through a lot of back and forth, we came up with the guidelines for the accountability group. And it really felt good to know that we were going to provide something for new people. And we had to set a lot of guidelines for ourselves and for what we wanted it to achieve.
Yeah, and it's changed a little bit every year. We started WAM in 2020. So that was the COVID year. And It was a great way for new people to meet others that were also starting their businesses, because we couldn't have, conferences and in-person meetings and it sort of changed, over the years, how many times we met. And I don't know, we sort of just organically let it happen.
Right.
But for some of the people that were in there, and we kept it small, like 10 people, mentees and us. And we've also added mentors along the way with Laura Nelson and Betsy Regal. But each year we have 10 people. So that's been 50, 60 people that have been in the WAM program. And they got to know each other. So a lot of them have really remained friends and seen each other grow. And from our first WAM group, those people have now been in business 6 to 10 years.
Yes.
So
isn't that crazy?
Isn't that amazing? I just love that so much. But as things happen, Ceil and I are getting older. We're thinking about, maybe the WAM group would benefit this year from someone new and that is more engaged. And so over Christmas, I had dinner with Kathy Geffen, and she just shared with me her wishes for the industry to have more mentoring and more support and to help new business owners be able to connect together. Mm-hmm. And have someone to guide them so they make mistakes that all of us probably made without that support.
Right.
So that was where my ideas started working in my brain. And then I got with you and I was like, what do you think about having Kathy come in and be part of WAM and maybe even have us pass the baton? And since then, we've been rolling along quickly.
We have. I think sometimes we may have steamrolled right over Kathy.
So I'll let Kathy introduce herself, but she has Kathy Geffen designed in Richmond, Virginia, which is my hometown, and that's also very special for me. And so today we're passing the WAM baton to Kathy, and she's going to share why she's willing to do this and to take this big step and what her plans are for the future. So, Kathy, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here, and yeah, a little bit nervous, but it's a bunch of big shoes to fill, I think. So I'm excited to be here, though.
Kathy, I think the thing that when Susan first approached me about you being the person who takes this over, Susan and I have struggled the last year or two. We want this to continue. We both have so many other things that we do that we weren't always feeling like we had enough brain space or bandwidth to do this the way we wanted to, but neither of us wanted to give it up either. And this is one of those circumstances where I think you have to, what's the best outcome for everyone? And as soon as she said your name, I've known for quite some time how much you've wanted to give back to our industry. You and I have had conversations about that. You and I have known each other, I think it's like 8 years now. I think that was when we took Ann Johnson's class together, was when we had
Long time ago.
actually a chance to spend time together. But I've just seen how that is in your heart to give back and to um, take care of people, but also with a really strong background. And I think my reluctance to give up WHAM dissolved completely once we started discussing you doing it, because it was like, this is somebody we can trust and who has the energy and the organizational skills as well as the knowledge to do it really well. So I, my response to having big shoes to fill is, I can't wait to see how much better you do it.
Aw,
Because I think
Yes.
there's room for that. And Susan and I discussed that. Like, we could do this, but we have many other things that we're doing. So there just wasn't the space to do it the way we thought it could be.
okay. All right. That's really, thank you for the
Oh, you're
compliment.
welcome. I mean it
Really nice.
sincerely.
That's really nice. Well, I guess in my thought, when I initially met with Susan to have, and we had dinner, and we talked about the industry, my biggest thing was I love what I'm doing now. And just to give the audience and folks a background, um, I we do know Ceil and I know each other about 8 years. Ceil's podcast started probably around the same time that I started my business, so I feel like we were growing together.
Right.
So I was super excited when I met you at Ann Johnson's place. I was still working in a corporate environment. And honestly, I overlapped my business for working in a corporate environment while I was just getting to the point that my business was going to be something that it was going to be full time, about 8 years. I have been doing Kathy Geffen design 2.5 years now, full time. And what has been amazing to me is that we did it with the intention that I would have runway before my husband retired so that my business would go. And within 6 months, my business was very strong. And 2 years, I've pretty much replaced what I was making in a corporate environment that I had
Awesome.
worked in for 25 years. So that's fantastic. And what is was a struggle for me was having so much around me that no one knew no one outside of who I had chosen to position myself with understood what custom workrooms were, understood the scale of the work that we do, the engineering, the problem solving, the creativity, the relationships, as well as all of the other stuff that comes with business, understood it. And that just, I think, held me back a lot. And I've talked to Susan about it because that's the part that drives me crazy, is how much, when you say, I want to go sew window treatments, people ask me, don't you want to be around people? You don't want to just be sitting in your basement sewing all the time, do you? Well, as you and I know, that is not at all the thing we're doing. We do that, but percentage wise, it is not even, maybe it's, you're not always in your basement sewing
Right.
or in your sewing room sewing. you're measuring, you're having conversations, you're networking, you're problem solving, you're designing, you're ordering product, you're managing the inventory of the product, you're installing, you're managing the schedule of the install, you're making sure that relationship stays good, and you're growing your business, and then you're trying to find other people on top of you're still fabricating and making and producing, or you're looking at hiring staff to help you do that.
Right.
No one seemed to understand that this is a viable business that I wanted to be working on, and working forth. And it drove me absolutely crazy when I would hear things like, Kathy, you don't want to be too busy, do you? You don't want to be too busy, do you? Well, yes, I did, because I wanted to be busy enough. I was making money to quit the job that was not giving me the joy that I was getting joy out of this business. So in my head, the problem is the perception of our business is that we are not trade people. We are craft people doing hobbies and sewing. So that kind of drove me crazy. And as I watch the industry of the trade talk about the lack of people doing trades, I'm not hearing about the people doing trades like this, making things for luxury people. It's right, not a requirement to have window treatments, but there's a luxury environment there. Anyway, that's where the conversation started, and it kept going into, I'd like to help more people into this business and understand it's a viable business and we can do it.
Right.
So that led into me having conversations with many previous WHAM people, the Whamily. This is the first time I've said the word, to understand what worked well, what didn't work well, and where can we go through and improve it. What should we be changing? And what should we be keeping? So from my experience, it's awesome to have a network to go forth, and people will be able to find that when they go seek it out. You all know there's 1,000 resources for us to be able to find that if you go seek it out. And Ceil does a fantastic job with the podcast. You're in like kind of an initial bring in. I really think people once they find Ceil and they start understand what's custom workroom and how many times they hear people talk about that, then we pull them in. One of the things that I think was surprising to me as my business grew was the amount of times other business owners were coming to me, even though I was still working in a corporate world, coming to me about a problem. Right. And it wasn't a sewing problem. It would be a business problem, a scheduling problem, a communication problem. How do we talk about that? Or QuickBooks problem. So I am looking forward to helping business owners solve problems. Not necessarily maybe fabrication problems, because I know there are lots of resources I can direct people to go to solve the fabrication problems, but more maybe business growth problems or mindset problems. Maybe you don't even know it's a mindset problem. What are the challenges that workroom owners are kind of circling? Maybe they have something that they're circling and they keep talking about and haven't fixed, or haven't looked at it because they think it's big and scary. Help them break down what that problem is into terms and conversations and action items so that we can resolve the problem or table the problem, or really just maybe define the problem. It's not really what you think it is.
Right.
That's the general concept.
So Kathy, I thought that was interesting that you said people were coming to you asking questions.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? You were new in business.
I was new in business, but they weren't asking me business questions necessarily related to all of the things that we deal with. Well, maybe it was, hey, I don't know how to manage all my schedule people. How do I keep track of who's ready for install versus who's ready for fabrication and who's ready for this? Hey, there's this thing called a Kanban board, and you can just create all the statuses, make little post-it notes and do this. Well, 4 people said, Kathy, here's my Kanban board within a year after we had that conversation in my local WCAA group. So that it was kind of when I realized, okay, I got something going on here, because I know how to manage projects. I know how to manage process. I know how to manage problems and break them down. That's what I did for 25 years, was help organizations define change, break the change into manageable steps and actions and milestones, and go through it.
And I think that's one of your superpowers, Kathy.
That's my superpower. I think you're right.
I think that's why I think people knew they could approach you about those things, because you talk about those things. And I remember it's one of the things I love about you, because so many of us are left brain creative people, but you have managed to use both sides of your brain in a way I'm still struggling to do. But I love that, and mindset is a really important part here. It didn't matter that you were a new window treatment person. You had all of these other skills that you had been developing all those years, and you were very confident about applying them to this business for yourself. And I think people saw that.
Yes. Yes. I think you're right. And I think that's what I was trained to do, because I think I worked in about 11 different industries managing change.
Okay.
Over, like I said, 25 years. And whether the change was a business, communication, organization, people thing versus a software thing, it was all really the same process. What's the problem? How do we define it? Why is that the problem? How do we get where's the gap? How do we get from A to B? Right. And that's really the once you kind of get to that point, you have a plan. You can start developing a plan, as long as you are at that point and understanding that's the right thing to focus on right now.
Right.
Yes. So that's probably some of the difference, is that when I was speaking with previous people who had been in WHAM and are successfully doing business, I'm very happy to have the networking. I'm very happy to have the confidence that they've gained from the network of people that they created. There at the beginning, when COVID was around, everyone was very, very happy. And then again, maybe it needed a little more structure as things kept going. So all I really want to do is try to help define structure based on where that business owner needs it. And I think just from having conversations, I spoke with WHAM, who were new people, and I know, talking to many people at conferences like CWC and webinars and all kinds of WCAA events, is that not only are new people having problems, but seasoned workrooms have problems, right? And avoid them and kind of do the thing that's maybe harder, or avoid the problem because they're kind of afraid to tackle it head on. So I'd really like to join newbies of some sort with seasoned workrooms and talk about the challenges. What are your specific challenges? What is this? We're going to have specific problems that members will have to define. And I will help them define what their challenge is, because I think everyone will have an idea of, hey, I haven't looked at, everyone's going to have a different process. Maybe they have personnel issues. Maybe they have workflow issues. They all know they have issues that they want to focus on, but maybe not how. So the first thing will be defining, what are we focusing on? Why is this important? What really are we focusing on? And then what's next? And then how do we test that modification? And then what's next, right? So while we're talking workroom issues, we're talking workroom issues with newbies and seasoned. And folks will feel comfortable hearing that everybody has problems, even if you've been in business 25 years or 8 months. Everyone has something they want to work on. It's just a scale problem. And eventually the problem that Ceil and Susan, that you guys might have, is very different than the problem that the 8-month starter might have. But that 8-month starter would like to learn from you guys, right? So that's kind of maybe a mix, is having some seasoned in there as well.
I think another important part of WHAM is just the resources. So, every people that have been in business 25 years, they don't even know about many of the resources we have in the industry that new people do, because they're coming in and searching for things.
Right.
So that's another reason to sort of bring people together. And
absolutely. Yes. I've actually been surprised by some of the people that I've met who are seasoned that didn't know about, like, were first time members at a conference, at your conference, Susan, last year, and they're very seasoned. So that was shocking to me. How did you not ever go to this conference? It's been around for
10 years.
Right. So
I do think that for some of the people who are in that position, I think they've been working hard with their heads down. And I'm not addressing any one particular person or hoping not to insult anybody, but like you said, Kathy, not addressing the issues. If your head is down and you're working hard and there's money coming in, you're not really noticing if you're as profitable as you should be, or you may not be noticing other things. And I think it has been a busy versus productive mindset for a lot of people in our industry. And the pride in, look how busy we are, look how hard I work, has not really allowed them the time to work on their businesses, to do that research. And as you said, the newer, younger people coming into the industry have done their research.
Right.
And the research tools available to them are much better than they were when I started my business, when Susan started her business, even when you started, Kathy. Like, it's just, I've said this recently, the first time I asked someone how they learned to sew and the response was YouTube, I was blown away, because it had always been my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, 4-H, home economics. And then I realized it was one of those powerful moments where it was like, yes, the landscape has really changed. This is a very different world that we're living in. But I love that you are able to, I feel like it's almost a lot like therapy. You are, let's define the problem. Okay, is that really the problem? Or is that what you're saying the problem is, so that you can avoid it? And I think that that's what's really going to be helpful for people. Like you said, what does each individual business need?
Right. Exactly.
And last year, Ceil, I listened to our podcast from last year when we were talking about our goals for 2025. Did you listen? Did you get your goals?
I didn't. I did not listen. Now I'm going to be embarrassed to go back.
I was like reminded of mine. I was like, whoa, oh boy, I had some big goals. But one of the things that we had told the WHAM members when they were ending for the year, for that year, was to define one goal, and it could be a small goal or a big goal, and identify why and how. So it wasn't just, my goal is to raise my prices. It was, why are you raising your prices and how are you going to raise your prices? So it's just to identify that action and have a course of action. And I think that's sort of similar to what we're talking about right now, is with Kathy, is like getting people to define their goals and then coming up with an action plan.
Agreed.
So Kathy, let's talk about your vision for WHAM and changes, and maybe an overview of how you see this happening. And I know, because by the end of this podcast, people are going to want to sign up. So we'll get to that. But for right now, just sort of a vision of how you see this.
Sure. So this is my first cohort of WHAM. And this is going to be a learning experience for me as well as them. However, I have done official formal coaching. So I'm referencing a lot of the work that was doing as a coach to help people solve their problems, and bringing that into WHAM. One of the first things we're going to do is spend some time. People will have to look at their business and understand what part of their business are they struggling with. And as part of the application, they really need to be able to define where are they struggling and where would they like to improve. Because I want people to come in with a specific problem that we're solving. We may not know exactly how we're solving it or what we're focusing on yet, but somewhere in your business, there's something that you've circled that you've avoided because it's scary, too big, too large. You don't know how to put words to it. What is it? Right? So we're going to help. The first thing is that discovery process of defining what it is that you're circling and why are you circling it? Why is it a resolution? So really trying to understand the future state that they're wanting to move into and the desire for that future state.
Okay.
That's the first thing that we'll be doing. And we'll do that over, I think that's probably going to take more than 2 calls. I think that's going to take a lot, right? Is to go through it, but we need to have some level of a discovery to get there. We're going to have the first session really focusing on discovery process and how to get through that, how to define it for your business. It will be 1-hour meetings every 2 weeks. Members will have, I think, maybe between the 1-hour meetings and the work that they're going to have to do on their own, they could spend maybe 1 to 3 hours a week on the work. There will be work that they will need to do. I can't do it for you to solve the problem, but I can help ask the right questions to help you solve the problem. And we can have conversations among the members to understand different ways that they've already tackled that problem, because I'm sure there's some similarity in these groups.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that will be the first few sessions, is really getting to discovery. I would like by the second session for folks to have defined an MVP, that's the letter M as in mom, or minimal viable product. So MVP of what it is that we're trying to resolve. And at that point, what are the steps that they're going to try over the next 2 weeks to test the solutions? We will not have an answer yet, but we will be starting to get through conversations and discovery through the process to get to an end result objective. And what I would say is, here's how it's helpful to do that in a group. Is the group will already have knowledge, so we can talk about it. But 2, to have conversations to help. Sometimes you really need to have those conversations to put into words what to focus on and to know what not to focus on. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the most critical, is understanding the process of what is the one thing we're going to focus on over the next 2 weeks. And we're going to call that a sprint. So we're going to have several sprints where we only focus on something for the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to have a sprint review at the end to say, how did you do? What did you learn? And what are we going to do moving forward? So in the end, we're going to have resolved a lot of things that are super scary. And some of those things we're like 5-minute fixes, but you just didn't tackle it, right? Some of those
Don't we
things
hate
might
that?
be bigger fixes. Right.
I think that's the accountability thing, is like saying it out loud in front of other people. And that takes a lot of bravery for a lot of people to get those words out in front of other people that they worry are going to judge them. But there's no judgment. That's what's great about these small groups.
Yes.
And, putting the words out there, and that in itself is an action. I mean, you can't start without that. And support and that accountability is really important.
And it's a limited amount of time. I think that's a difference too, is that my goal is a 90-day cycle. So if we had started this at the beginning of the year, it would be a quarter, right? Mm-hmm. And so you would have 4 quarters to a year and have big things that you're going to solve over the next 90 each quarter. we're not having a Q1. Let's say it's not going to be a traditional Q1. But it is going to be 90 days. So I think given that we're new and how this is going to work is I'd like to have at least 2 cohorts of 90-day groups this year. But we'll see how the first one goes and learn from that as well.
Right. Kathy, I also think that the accountability is important, but I also think that 1 to 3 hours a week is not a whole lot to ask.
Right.
When you're trying to solve problems in your business. And it's, Susan and I have joked about this. I threw that meme out there. It took me 5 weeks to get to this. It took me 5 minutes. And from this, I will learn absolutely nothing.
Right.
And I will procrastinate yet again on the next thing. But I think that the relief that we all feel when something that we have not taken care of, we finally address and finally take care of. I am actually learning to do that better, but that is one of those things in business. Like you said, sometimes it's too scary to even say it out loud, but then you say it with a group of trusted people who someone's going to turn around and go, oh my gosh, me too. That's been a problem for me. And then you don't feel alone. And then you also don't feel whatever might be mixed with that, whether you feel like it's an inadequacy or lack of knowledge or intelligence or whatever you're beating yourself over the head with. All of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, other business owners go through this, and now I have people supporting me. So I love that idea.
Right. So how large of the cohort groups are you thinking?
I really think they need to stay under 10 in order to have that level of connection. 8 to 10 would be, I think, ideal. I'm hoping that we can get to 8 at the first group. We have at least 8 people interested in trying to talk and going through this. But I don't want them to be too big. I want them to be small enough. And I want them to be that, again, it's 1 to 3 hours a week of business owners' time. It's a call with me as well every 2 weeks or as a group. And I want people to have the level of support they need to make sure that they're moving forward and feeling like this is worth their time and investment.
I really like the shorter sprints, the shorter time period, because we would get so many people that because we try to keep it at 10 as well. And so we would get more applicants than that. And then they would be like, well, I have to wait a whole year.
Right.
To get in again. So this way, because you're keeping it at a small group, they know they can try again in another 90 days to get in the next group.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And I think I want the groups there will be an application process in the group for folks to really understand, because I want to make sure our groups are cohesive. That we don't, since we want seasoned and some newbies in there as well, we want to have a really good mixed group. I don't want to have too many of one or the other. So that's important to note, is that it's going to be also about the cohesiveness of who's applying and where are the needs, where can we all learn from each other and grow in that fashion.
So what are the requirements going to be?
The requirements. Okay, good question. I think that we need, as I mentioned, I think we need something for newbies and for seasoned. And when I think through the newbies, I don't want you to be too new, because I want you to have already gone through some level of effort to understand the impact of what you're thinking through. I want you to have had a little bit of friction, struggle, and tried. So in my head, that is 8 months is a really good time frame, because you're over the hump of starting your business. You're over a hump of like something 6 months. It feels like something. If it's beyond 6 months and you're going to keep going, you want to keep going. You've realized, I liked it enough for 6 months. I made some money, or I didn't make money, and I want to make money, and I want to keep going forward on the next step. So I feel like 8 months is a really good time frame to have weeded out people who are just curious and there's a lot of information that's available without this group that you can still learn. And there's a lot of support already without this group that you can learn. So now you at 8 months, you're ready to invest. You've done some level of work. You're ready to invest in your business and some time. And you're ready to learn from some seasoned folks. And you realize you maybe at that point respect the seasoned folks, maybe even a little more. So 8 months is an ideal time frame in my head. And then I don't care how long you've been in business. I really don't. I want folks who have been in the business long enough that they want to grow and tackle that monster that's kind of been hanging on, the monkey on your back that's just been there for 3 years to do whatever. Let's tackle it. Let's go. Right. So no real minimum. I would like an investment of your time. Like I said, I think it will be between 1 and 3 hours on your own of work, because there will be on your business work. There might be education you need to give yourself. Mm-hmm. And I want you to make sure that I want you to have been a member of the library as well. I think the resources that are in the library are incredible. And the networking that's out there, we're going to use library networking chat, the same method of framework that Ceil you had. So it's pretty important that you're in the library. There's so much already out there that I want to point you to that. And then I want you to be willing to invest in your own business. So there is a requirement. The first cohort, it's $150 a month, which is $450 for 9 months. 90 days, excuse me, $450 for 90 days. And I don't think $150 a month which it would be a flat fee at $450. I don't think when you average what we're going to be doing, that's too much to invest in your business.
No, not at all.
Agreed. And that was one of the things that Susan and I kind of struggled with, was how do we price this out and make it a valuable resource? And I love that you've been so succinct with it. And again, one of the things that Susan and I talked about in the beginning was we needed a place for people to be able to talk with each other off of the meetings. And the library was a great place for that. And, I've said this to Susan. I don't know how often I've said it publicly, but it's easy for me to be proud of the library because I didn't create it. But the amount of information that is in there, I think, is invaluable for people, and to be able to steer them towards things to help them alleviate problems. Like you said, get rid of the friction for certain things when, this is here.
Right.
But the networking too is a huge part of what has made our industry, what I hear over and over and over again, such a welcoming community, and how we help each other. And I still, every year at registration at CWC, 2 people are standing next to each other that have never met, and suddenly they realize they live close to each other. And it happens over and over again. And that's, Susan mentioned how some of the early members of WAM made connections and are good friends. And every once in a while, I'll hear something like, oh, yeah, so-and-so is coming over, or, oh, yeah, let me call so-and-so because they helped me with this. And it's just like, that to me is just phenomenal in our industry and in what the Custom Workroom Conference has created, as well as within the library. And I think they're both really valuable resources for the newbies. And for, as you said, the seasons. I like that word, by the way, season. I feel younger when you use that word.
So Kathy, how long will people have to apply? We're recording this on February 6th. It's going live on February 11th. And people need time to think about it, make decisions, and you have to make your selections. So they can find a link on our blog to connect with you. But how long will it be before you start the official first meeting?
Well, thank you. That's another good question. What we're going to do is you're going to have a blog. I'm going to have a sign up wait list that you will be able to provide on your blog to everyone who's listening here. And at that point, what that will do is let you know you've raised your hand and you're interested. And as we all know, podcasts, not everyone listens to the podcast immediately. Well, maybe they do this one. I don't know. I find myself catching up late sometimes. So we'll have a period of time where many people will be able to listen. You'll be able to raise your hand the whole month of February and most of March. April 6th will be our first kickoff meeting, which is the first Monday after Easter. So what a wonderful new time to have a brand new start.
Yes.
Which is the first Monday after Easter, we will have our kickoff. The application will open sometime in March, but and it will remain, I'm not sure how long yet it will remain open. I want to be honest, I need to look at the launch kind of start like dates of everything there. But the wait list will be available for you to go ahead and sign up. And that will put you on the list so that you will be ready to sign up and fill out the application.
That's a great idea to have the wait list. I love that, Kathy.
Yes. And when you're on the wait list, I'm going to keep those people who have already said hello by just continuing to communicate status updates of what's going on. To be on the wait list, you will receive a link to the application when it's available. And you will get all of the dates and information knowing what's going on. In the meantime, until the application is closed, I want people to be thinking about, they probably know where in their business is it they're struggling. Are they struggling now? Because I want you to provide some level of insight into what's going on. Mm-hmm. Where is the friction in your current state compared to your desired future state? Where is that friction? And if that's all it is, that's fine. Let me know that. We can work through that. But if you have it further defined, you're going to have a better result. So I want people to think about that.
I like that. If you have it well defined, you're going to have a better result.
Yes. I was just going to ask, when people complete the program, what is your hope for them that they'll take away?
Good question. Gosh, I hope that people are coming out feeling confident, with understanding the ability to where it's okay to test or do what maybe test out certain things. Just because you're making a change doesn't mean you have to change everything all at once. You can test a little bit. It's kind of like making a new recipe. Sometimes you might put in, my daughter's making the best cookie recipe, and she has tested she's doing the scientific method. She doesn't realize she's doing it. We're changing the butter. We're changing the warmth of the butter. We're changing if the dough needs to sit in the refrigerator a little bit or not before we bake them. And we're changing the cookies, the chocolate chips. However, each ingredient is being changed in each batch. So there's a lot of cookies, there's a lot of change, and we know individually which one's making an impact. I would like people to kind of think about that in their own business when it comes to these problems. We don't have to do everything all at once, but what's the little thing we can do to make a difference? And then adjust from there. I would like people to know how to do that effectively.
Kathy, I think that is so brilliant, because I think that I'll just raise my hand here and say I'm guilty of it, where, I wake up one day and I'm frustrated with something and I think everything has to change. Right. I need a new platform. I need a new notebook. I need a new whatever. And that's not the problem. And by changing 5 or 6 things, I don't know what worked.
Right. And sometimes you're overwhelmed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
like you're just overwhelmed. Everything's a problem. Everything's a problem. What's the most pressing problem today?
Yeah. It's such a logical way to look at it. And having you guiding this group means that you're the voice of reason. And because when we're one-on-one with one other person who's going through, we can just catastrophize together and not come up with a solution, but just make each other feel like, oh yeah, me too, but nothing happens. And this way you can calm people down, say, okay, what's really the problem? What's the most important thing to focus on now? And exactly. I love that.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. And one thing I want our listeners to know is that Ceil and I are not going away. This isn't the end of everything for us, and we'll still be involved and engaged. So, Kathy can have us on anytime. We'd
Great.
love to hear from people, be part of the mentorship program as mentors. And actually, I'm looking at this and listening to you, Kathy. I'm like, geez, I could use some help in some areas.
Seasoned.
All
Can we
right.
sign up?
You guys should just be coming anyway, really. Like, we haven't talked about that, but you should probably be coming anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
It's a really fun way to meet people. And
Mhm.
then when we're at Custom Workroom Conference and you get to see people in person and you just feel like you already know them. It's really special.
I think, Kathy, I won't speak for Susan, but I think she'll agree with me. One of the best things about all of this for us has been to watch the growth in our industry, to watch the support that people have given to each other after they've met in our WAM group, and knowing that if you're sitting by yourself in your workroom or at your desk, if they're two different places, and you feel overwhelmed, that there is someone that you can reach out to that understands what you're doing. And I've watching the relationships that have developed over the years with the people in the WAM group has just been so wonderful to see. It's just knowing they're there to support each other, I think, has made everything that we've already put into it so worth it for me personally. And why it was so hard for us to decide, do we want to keep doing this? But then we miss out on that piece of it. And it was not an easy decision to make, but it was easier when we knew it was you
Aw,
who'd be taking it over.
thank you. And I heard that over and over again. People were in, it's amazing that people had that opportunity and where they are now. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So what can we do to keep going with newbies and to help seasoned feel more confident? And just, this is a professional industry. Let's make it, I want other people to recognize that
Yeah.
outside of our industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also helpful if, people do happen to be near each other and connect in person.
Yes.
You might find that happening in the WAM groups too, as people that apply and don't even know that there's someone nearby that they can connect with in person. So important.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm happy that WAM is not only going to continue, but in a new way, a more exciting way, a bigger way. It's not just people in their first 5 years of business, and with a new face and a perspective and talents. So, Kathy, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to more to come. We'll see.
Can't wait to see how this unfolds, Kathy. I'm so
Yes.
grateful that you're stepping up to this.
And
Thank you.
for all of our WAM alumni out there, we love you and are so proud of everything you've accomplished, and that you are WAM ambassadors for the industry, and will continue to support new people and other people in the industry. So on the Workroom Tech blog, when this airs, I will have the link where you can sign up to be on the waiting list with Kathy, and then she'll take it from there.
And I will make sure the show notes have a link to Susan's blog so that you can find all of this really easily. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm just thrilled. This is so great. I'm excited. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Susan and I are both so excited about the future of the Workroom Accountability and Mentoring Group, and really excited to see what Kathy is going to do with it. If you'd like more information about WAM and what Kathy has planned, you can go to Susan's blog on the workroomtech.com website, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great day.